So I decided to make a game. Even though no one knows who I am, this new channel will show everyone who watches that any smooth-brained monkey can learn skills to make whatever they want. And as I said, I'm making a game. So let's get started. The first thing I did was some research. I'm not completely new to Unity, but this is my first time making a multiplayer game instead of single player. I should say that I never released anything before, but I did participate in a few game jams. The main idea for my game was to make a party games type game similar to Rounds, Rubber Bandits, or Pummel Party. So I wrote down all the important aspects I want to incorporate, but also before that, an important thing to note is that I have no experience making music and very little experience with graphics. I am able to do 3D models, but for my game I decided to go with pixel art. I have spent a few minutes, alright, maybe a bit more time in Sprite. Next, I wanted my game to have a space setting, or at least a zero gravity mechanic. And the theme of survival being the last person standing, so I started creating a very basic project on which I can build my game. Alright, so first things first, I made these two simple level designs and this cute little character. And even though this will be nowhere near enough as far as graphics go, it'll serve as a good placeholder. Next step was to start building the game in Unity. And so I created a new project, dragged in some 2D objects, and started to make a movement script. For this game, I wanted to make the physics realistic, at least to a certain point. And so I started to make the movement using add force. That way, it'll add speed with time and not change directions immediately, and also made collisions do bounces that lose your player a bit of speed. All of this was fine in single player, but the real question is if I could do it in multiplayer. I found out the best way to do multiplayer would be through netcode, and netcode for game objects. So I downloaded the extension and got to work. I had no real experience working with netcode, but I had learned it in the past, so I thought it would be fine. Which it was, up until I had to make the collisions multiplayer. The movements were made client authoritative. You know, this word. But in the end, because of the collisions, I had to make it server authoritative. But unfortunately, there were more problems. The biggest one being, no matter what I tried, I could not get my collisions to work. The basic idea was to save the player's speed in each fixed update, and on a collision, send it to a server RPC. The server RPC would then calculate the new speed of the two colliding parties and give that new speed back to them.
3 weeks later.
Yeah, you read right. I spent 3 weeks trying to figure it out, and I was done at that point. There was no way I could make it work, not with my current skills. No matter what I tried, the speeds always came back 0 and 0. And so I decided to just scrap the project. There was nothing I can do. But it wasn't the end yet. Even though I'm not able to do a multiplayer game, I can still salvage some parts and some ideas and try again. So I got to thinking, what could be a good single player game? What I came up with was a resource management trading game like Potioncraft, but not only for selling and buying items, but also make your new home self-sustaining. The theme before was space, and so I decided that I want to keep that. So I got to work implementing the zero gravity for all the objects. As I mentioned Potioncraft before, I also decided to make it a click and point game. So far, I have a few loose ideas on what I want the main base to be, but I'll leave that till I make the graphics. Next, I made the camera operate a little bit differently than you might expect. First, I tried to change the position of the camera, but that didn't work, so I decided instead I'm gonna create an object, an empty game object that I'm gonna set as the player, and the camera is gonna follow it thanks to Cinemachine. And that was my camera movement. Smooth camera movement at that. So now I have the movement left and right and up and down. Next thing is to create some items and a way to store them. What I came up with is simple draggable items and a container that on collision takes those items, adds them to their own list, and on command can release them. So in my opinion, that's pretty much done. Next thing was to make a trading system, some art, and most important, a storyline. But I think I'll keep that for next time. So I hope you enjoyed the biggest 180 in game creation, and if you have any ideas on how to improve what I'm doing, please let me know. Because as you can see, I'm very new to this. And see you again in the next video. In 3 to 4 weeks, I guess.